You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
Welcome back to Packernet. JJ Leahy and Jake Shavink today, and Ryan informed us at the last second that we gotta move forward without him. So thanks, Ryan. It's okay. We don't like doing a podcast with you or anything. It's not like we designed this show to have three hosts who have good chemistry with each other and bounce fun ideas and questions off each other. It's cool. We'll just keep twofer in it. It's fine. Jake, fill us in on Jordan Love contract watch.
Well, a lot went down today because Goody took to the podium, talked about how they were very close. I think a lot of people are sharing that sentiment right now that this deal is going to get done pretty soon. I don't think Goody would have said very close if he didn't believe it. He just could have said we're still negotiating. We're working on whatever, working on details. He could have said a lot of things instead of very close. So I think that's a great indication that Love probably won't be doing his hold-in for very long. Going to be interesting to see if the report that came out earlier, or what kind of Schefter was talking about of him potentially being the highest paid quarterback in the league.
He should be,
which to me is a lot for 1 year of starting, but that's another conversation. So yeah, I think that's really kind of it. I think LaFleur kind of talked about, hey, like he's here, he's in meetings, right? He's up to speed on what we're going to do all season long. So, I think it seems like everybody's pretty close to the same page, just ironing out a couple things, and sure Love will be on the practice field within the week. So,
look, if they would let me into the negotiation room, I would drive a hard bargain here as the Packers. I'd say absolutely you can be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. You do have to sign for 10 years. And we get an out after year one. But you're locked in for 10 years should we choose to keep you. But yes, and what do you want? $75 million a year? Heck yeah. You got it, buddy. That's what I would do. Okay, I mean, seriously, would you pay $75 million for 1 year of Love with 9 team option years?
So yeah, I've heard about that idea.
What? I just came up with it just now. How could you have heard of it?
The option year thing. Does that, because some people have been talking about that. Does that float that cap number up like massively year over year then? when they do that,
I'm just
because if they
talking
keep
about
the signing bonus, if the signing bonus is kept small,
well, I mean,
in that scenario,
your signing bonus is spread equally across all years of the contract up to, I think, 5 years. I think you can't spread it over more than 5 years. So a signing bonus that we paid him today would be spread out over the next 5 years of his contract. I think he could be under contract for more years than just that. But if we just structured the
Right.
contract in such a way so that, listen, you get the 75 mil guaranteed and you're under contract for 10 years and you get 75 a year, but we can get out of it after, 1 year with some dead money. I'm just saying. They would never sign it.
no, probably
Which is why
not.
I'm just spitballing it on a podcast.
They're talking, because they're talking about this because Mahomes kind of has that a little bit, where like signing bonus was small, he's getting rollover, and people are at this point going, why did he sign that?
Well, it was done when he signed it,
right?
I mean, I couldn't believe he signed it at the time,
right? Yeah, exactly. So like now with all these bigger quarterback deals coming up, it's kind of like, man, this is.
They're going to have to give him a new contract at some point because
for sure.
There's going to come a day,
especially after he wins Super Bowls 4 and 5 in the next 4 or 5 years or so. So yeah, they will definitely have to give him a new deal by then.
There's going to come a day very quickly here where he's like the 27th highest paid quarterback in the league, and he tells them like, you got to give me some more money or we're going to have a problem here. And they'll do it because he's earned it. I mean,
sure.
So whatever it was, 4 years ago that they gave him $500 million for 10 years, felt like a good deal to him at the time. It was actually very team friendly, obviously. And
for sure.
And the nice thing is, like, even though he had already kind of proven who he was, we are now several years removed from that, to where you're like, hey, I don't mind tossing more money at him to get him where he's still getting the same percentage of the cap now that he was back then, because he's continued to play this way for 6 years. Like, we know who he is. He's Mahomes. So that's why it's a nice deal. And this is the thing. Like, I'll be a little bit disappointed if whatever the average per year is, and I just don't care what the average per year is. Like, I want it to be high. I don't want a low average per year. I want a highly quarterback. But I'll be a little bit disappointed if it's just a standard 4 new years. I want 5 new years, so that he's on a 6-year deal, including the year he already has. And go ahead, make him the highest paid quarterback in the league. I don't want a ton of guaranteed money. The Packers really don't have a history of guaranteeing beyond the first year or the first 2 years for a quarterback. Yeah. So if they guarantee beyond the first 2 years, or if the signing bonuses are structured in such a way so that immediately in year 1 we are already kind of screwed if we decide to move on from him a year from now. Like let's just say that he takes the field in a month here or a month and a half, and we're like, holy crap, this is not the guy that we thought we were looking at in the building every day, or whatever. I don't want to immediately be in a situation where we already have so much money committed to him that we don't have flexibility to move on. But I want to have a lot of flexibility for the team, and that comes in years. And if it's just 4 years, I'm just going to be kind of disappointed, because that's like it's like 2 disappointments on top of each other. One is, hey, why didn't the Packers try to get him to sign for longer than 4 years? Did they not have the confidence that I think they have in him? And 2, if they did try, why couldn't they get him to agree to 5 years? Because it seems better for everybody. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot that's going into this. I think the first, with the number of years, right? The agents exactly like this is they would love to get, to a point where in your early 30s, at the quarterback position, which is like for running backs, the early 20s, for receivers, kind of mid to late 20s, of like, let's get that last big crack at this, for a number that we know is going to keep going up. when more young quarterbacks continue to sign their deals, when, guys like Mahomes that we mentioned already, could get, significant bumps at some point down the line. They would love another crack at it. Perhaps the big hangup is the guaranteed money, because as you said, Green Bay, they don't like dishing a lot of it out. So maybe that's part of the kind of what has been the hangup to this point. So yeah, I don't know if Goody really is kind of also just trying to, kind of put this kind of out there in the negotiation, like, hey, love what we saw last year. We would just really love to see it again. And so this is what we're thinking, right, with how they want to structure it. And I don't blame Goody at all because of, again, yes, it all clicked for an 8 to 10 week span there. It really did. And hopefully that continues, even if it's, not quite to that level. And that's like when you see Rodgers hit the peak like that, like, oh, that's the peak. Okay, great. Doesn't mean we're getting it all the time. That's fine. Would love to see, 80 to 85% of that most of the time.
Oh, yeah. And
right?
What percentage of the time was Rodgers peak Rodgers? He was very seldomly peak Rodgers, but like for the most part, you didn't care. There were times when
yes,
2019 and 2015, I think, were 2 years where we were really questioning, like, geez, it's kind of been a while since we saw peak Rodgers for any sustained amount of time, and I remember being on a podcast in 2019 and saying, dude, I would do anything. I would give up a first round pick to have Aaron Rodgers back to his peak, what he was a few years ago. Like, I still love him and appreciate him now that he's kind of old and washed up, but like, man, if he could be like MVP caliber again, boom, of course we know what happened after that, 2 back-to-back MVP seasons. Yeah. But like, for the most part in his career, outside of, 2019 and I think 2015, what percentage of the time was he peak Aaron Rodgers? Was he top 3 quarterback in the league? It was not all the time, but you knew that he could do it and that he would pull it out in a lot of those big moments. And that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, again, from a Packer fan perspective, what Rodgers was Favre's ceiling maybe surpassed with less turnovers. And that's what Rodgers at the peak always was. After 2014, 2015 was a disappointment. First half of 2016 was a disappointment. And then boom, I'm clicked. We're making this run to the NFC title game in late 2016. I can make this happen. So yeah, I think, of course they want to find a way to go, okay, yeah, we believe in the peak that we saw. We're probably not going to get it all the time. This is what we're thinking for your deal. To the added on point of like, okay, we've only seen you play 1 year. So it's not a negotiation I would like to be in right now if I'm the Packers, because the problem right now is because Goff and Lawrence have signed massive deals recently, and Jordan Love at his peak is better than both of them. Right? And so, like, it doesn't matter. All of these guys that are hovering around, kind of this middle of the road group are still going to get massive deals. And so to essentially say like, oh yeah, is he, would I pay him more than both of those guys? Knowing that we can see that peak, sure. But it's just because he's only started, 1 year, it just makes this so much more complicated. It's not something I would want to be at the negotiating table for, representing the Packers in this situation.
I do want to address a comment that we got here from the chat. GR7070 says, highly doubt a good agent is going 5-year extension. Another bite at the apple is too lucrative. I do just want to point out, if you look at all the recent contracts to the really good young quarterbacks, okay, we're talking the Joe Burrowses, okay, other guys like him, Justin Herbert, etc. 5 years for all those guys. So, yeah, I think Lawrence got 4 years, Goff got 4 years. Okay, that's like a lesser, lower tier of, hey, we can live with you. Not sure you're really going to get us where we need to go. Herbert, Burrow. I forget who the other couple guys are who just signed big contracts. They're the, hey, if we can do everything right, like you are good enough to get us anywhere we need to go. We just need to build around you. They're getting 5 years. So that is just yet another thing in the bucket of I want the Packers to show me the confidence that Jordan is in that second tier of, or I shouldn't say second tier, I should say that top tier, second mentioned, of those guys that you do commit to for 5 years. So, and Goody was, pretty flowery in his praise of Jordan today. He said he is the franchise QB. So not really that nervous. I haven't been nervous really at any point, basically since the end of last season. I forget what game it was that just like really sealed it for me, that I knew, hey, I'm, don't have any more doubts about Jordan. But basically since then, I have just not been worried. And I really think that the Packers and Love's camp have agreed on the dollar amount and agreed on the years, like kind of a while ago. I think that what is taking so long is quibbling about the structure. Love's camp is going to want all these guarantees. Packers are going to want to do bonuses instead. So that's, I think, what they're quibbling about.
Yeah.
Maybe they're also talking about signing bonus and how much cash he gets today. I don't know. Yeah. From everything we've heard, Packers are not hurting for cash. I just don't think that that's any kind of problem. And if it were, if cash were a problem, guess whose deal wasn't getting done right now? Kenny Clark's. Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
So, the cash is not a problem. I really think it's all about the structure, about the Packers want that flexibility. Like I'm talking about, they want, look, we'll guarantee 1 point whatever years of your contract. And then after that, you get a lot of money and you get a lot of bonuses, but we need some assurances on our part that we're getting what we're paying for. And then if we're not, then we're not screwed. And on Love's side, they're saying, dude, we already did you enough favors. He sat for 3 years. Enough is enough. We're he gave you this extension. You're getting top two quarterback play last year for what was it, $11 million, like peanuts. Okay. They're saying enough. We've done you enough favors. It's time to do right by us. Guarantee the whole thing or whatever we want, 80%. That's what they're looking for. I think that's what's taking so long.
No, that's fair.
And by the way, like that is why, like, I don't think Jordan cares about what's going on. Like when we have
not
seen the little comments,
ball, man.
Like he knows what the total dollar amount is going to be. He knows what he's going to get per year because they've already agreed on that. I really think that it doesn't make any sense to think that they are still going, well, what about 56 million? No, we want 56 and a half, you jerk. Like they're not doing that. That's not the stage they're at anymore.
It's very much a guaranteed money conversation for sure. Because we've already mentioned it, right? Like Goody said, they're very close. Very close would not be like, hey, we don't know, how much you're getting per year. We don't know like what we believe to be the length of the contract, right? Probably X or Y years, right? They're one apart, whatever it is, that could be part of it. But yeah, when you're very close, it's a guaranteed money thing for sure. And it's funny when you go like, you're like, game X was the one where I knew Love was the guy. You could point to a few of them. There's not like one didn't immediately come to my mind, honestly, when you said that. So it's kind of like, that game, that one, Like there are multiple games like that down the stretch that Love was like that. So
I'm looking at the schedule for last year.
I'm interested to see which one.
I'm looking at the schedule for last year.
Yeah.
Okay, so week 1 was Bears. Week 2 was that weird Falcons loss. Week 3 was the come behind win against the Saints at home, real low scoring game.
Yep.
Then you get the Lions blowout loss. And then you have the super low scoring Raiders game.
God, that game was
13-17 loss. That was the first game.
That was the low point, man.
That was the first game where I actually started to doubt.
Yeah.
And I needed to wait. I needed a week off. I did not watch the Broncos game the next week because I was just like, I could feel the anger building toward the team. And I was like, I need to take a week off and chill.
Yeah.
You guys go beat your heads against a wall without me. Figure out if you can beat the worst team in the league or not. And I will see you in a week.
Yeah.
And then so they lose to the Broncos, put up 10 points against the Vikings and lose, and then beat the Rams 23. And like that Rams game, I didn't care. I was like, dude, I need to see more. Like I need to see like some sustained success.
The Ram game felt like all right, let's get back to some basics. Let's just harm out like of what a rhythm can look like in a game. And I was like, okay, cool. We've got a baseline of what a rhythm could look like for you in a football game. Now we move. Yeah, I agree.
So the week after that was 5 days later. They had a no, I was looking at the wrong date. So a week later, they had a 4-point loss to the Steelers, 19-23. But I think that was the game that kind of reeled me back in, and I said, nope. I still do believe in Jordan Love, and I'm good, and I'm confident in him.
The absolute stones to throw the read ball late in that game. Like, are you kidding me?
We saw another
like
year
that
Jordan.
throw alone. Nuts. Just to be like, yeah, you know what? I believe Reed's going to get to where I want him to go. I'm going to unload this football. We need a big play. That's just absurd stuff. So, and again, it was really never with Love like, oh, can he make a play like that, right? Unbalanced footwork, arm talent to uncork the football. Like that was never that's never been the issue. Moving on the move off the back foot, he can do all that, right? But I do think for me at least, when he started the in-structure stuff against Detroit on Thanksgiving, it was like, oh, excuse me. Hold on a minute. You're figuring this part out? You're figuring out the rhythm, the post-snap, what you're looking at pre-snap? We might be moving right here. We really might be moving. And then they go beat the Chiefs.
So before the Chiefs game,
yeah,
it was the Lions game that was erased any last shred of questioning that I had about Jordan. I was 100% in on like, nope, Jordan is the guy with the Lions game. And before the Lions game, I'm hanging out with a bunch of family at Thanksgiving, and I said, I think it would be a very Packers thing for them to win this game. Like they're not expected to win it. I think they're going to. So they beat the Lions. Then their next two games are Chiefs and Giants. And before the Chiefs game, I came on here and I said they're going to beat the Chiefs and they're going to lose to the Giants because that's the most Packers thing of all time. That's what they always do.
Boy, is it ever.
They beat the team that the rest of the league is scared of, and then they stumble and fall flat on their face versus a pretty uninspiring, lowly team that has enough going in the trenches to give you a hard day at the worst possible time. That is what the Packers do. It happens every single year.
Yep.
But it didn't matter. Like the Giants game was not very fun to watch.
No.
Didn't cause me any doubts in Jordan, though. None.
No. And I think same with the Tampa Bay game, right? It was just kind of like, yeah, he's doing what he needs to do out there. There was just a lot defensively that they just didn't have an answer for as well. Carolina was hilarious to watch, right? And he's just like, you know what? I'm going to go beat last two division rivals of the year. Now we're going to take care of business. We're going to the playoffs.
By the time the Tampa collapse happened, like the groundwork for that had already been laid the week prior versus the Giants.
For sure.
So like really looking at the scoreboard, the problem with that game was actually the offense. But when you watched it, the problem actually was clearly the defense. Like when you watched it,
Yeah.
like it was just one of those, like the scoreboard doesn't tell the whole story. And when you watch it, like at the end of the game, the way they gave up that game-winning drive for the Giants, you knew like, oh, the wheels are coming off for this defense and it's not going to get fixed.
No.
So Tampa, like nobody cared about the offense. We were so frustrated with what we were watching from the defense. Yeah. And then like that Panthers game, like it was interesting because we were back to that spot that we were in a few years ago with the Aaron Rodgers offense, Dom Capers defense, where you're just like screaming at your television, like, how perfect does the offense have to be to win any games? Like, can you defenders stop a bloody nose?
Something.
Stop a running nose. It was
the
so
most
frustrating.
Inept team all year, and you cannot get out of your own way defensively.
Well, and after that Tampa game,
it just
So after the Tampa game, in between Tampa and Carolina, is when Matt LaFleur takes over the defense. He can't fire his defensive coordinator, but he can, leave the offense to run itself and go run the defense for them. And those last 3 games of the regular season, LaFleur's running the defense. Whoa. Look, turns out if you have literally anybody besides Joe Barry running the defense, you can actually get some traction going. Crazy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Let's take our offensive-minded head coach, former offensive coordinator, and look, he can run a better defense than Joe Barry can. Crazy.
And again, just win a slugfest with Chicago. Last game of the year, that's fine. That's the type of game you're going to get late in the year. You're going to get one of those. They had one with the Giants. They didn't win it.
But also that Chicago game was another one where the scoreboard does not tell the story.
For sure.
You look at the final score of that game, it looks close.
They were we were
laughing at the end of that game going, what an absurd scoreboard for having watched this game and knowing just how many points the Packers just casually decided not to cash in on.
Very much could have been almost an exact replica of Minnesota. Could have easily been that game.
Yeah. 33-10 against the Vikings the week prior.
Yeah, it could have been very similar.
Yeah, the on-field product of that 17-9 win over the Bears felt identical to the 33-10 smashing of the Vikings.
For sure.
It just ended up being a little bit weird.
Yep.
With the points department. That's all it was.
You have to win weird football games at some point. Like, you have to do it. That's
thankfully no team wins.
Baltimore can't do it against Pittsburgh.
The way the Packers do.
Yeah, that's true. Baltimore can't do it against Pittsburgh. They have not figured out how to win the weird game against their rival. True. I don't know how that is. I don't know what's going on over there. But you need to find a way to win games like that against your rival. And they did what they needed to do.
That is a rivalry thing. All right. I mean, you look at
sure. Things get weird.
You know how much I love to ramble and rant about Ohio State, but like Ohio State, Michigan, one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports, like those weird games, like there's always a momentum for whoever has been winning that side of the rivalry for a while. You look at all the bizarre wins that Ohio State had over Michigan that they didn't deserve, but it's just like it was a weird game, and when it's weird, Ohio State wins it, and when it's not weird, Ohio State wins it, and then it flips. And you look at like the most recent game, 2023, Ohio State, Michigan, super weird. And like a lot of stuff could have benefited both sides equally, and it just didn't. Yeah. That's just how rivalry games are. They're just weird.
Yeah.
And
rivalry games are, when you've got
the Packers and Bears is going the right way right now.
Yeah. And with the rivalry game thing, like if it's weird a lot, having the mental edge and being like, we've been in this spot before, we can do it again, right? Ohio State was on that long run of where like, we've got this. We know things get weird. We know we can count on ourselves to find it when it gets weird. But once Michigan flipped that script, and they're like, we got one. The weight is off. So when it gets weird again, we know, okay, the weight is off the shoulders. We built momentum. We know how to win this game.
And that's why this...
Yeah, and it's so tough to recapture when the ball is rolling down the hill and things are weird in a rivalry.
That's why this first game against Caleb Williams is going to be so important for the Packers.
Yes.
Because you need to keep the momentum where it is. Don't let the Bears get out of their own heads and start thinking to themselves like, hey, wow, we've proved that it finally is a new era. We actually do know how to beat the Packers.
Yep.
Like, can't let that happen.
Yeah.
Keep your foot on their neck. I'm fine with Caleb Williams being a good quarterback. I'm fine with it. And if the Bears want to finally have a competent offense, hey, good for them. But the Packers need to make sure it stays weird. They need to make sure that the momentum stays in the wrong direction, keeps putting the pressure on the Bears. And like, look at another rivalry. Packers 49ers. One really strange thing is that if you actually look at just the straight up head to head between the Packers and 49ers, it's super even. I mean, they're basically 50-50 against each other. But all the Packers' losses to the 49ers are coming in the playoffs. And it's
There's
like
a playoff mental hurdle.
Yeah, it's not a curse. It's just a mental block that the team in green has for the team in red. Just like swapping out the quarterback apparently didn't quite fix it. Swapping out the coach apparently didn't quite fix it. There's just there's a mental block there that they're going to have to get over in the playoffs at some point, and that's going to make all the difference. You win one, get that monkey off your back, get your mind sorted, it flips, and now you can actually take it back to 500 against them, maybe start winning more than you lose against them in the playoffs. That's what it's going to take. You got to win that one.
Yeah.
You would think that the wins that they've gotten to them over in the regular season could have done that. But apparently that's not what the mental block is.
It's different. Yeah, it's a different one. It is. And I mean, Dallas has it with both of them. Okay? Dallas has the biggest mental hurdle to clear. Because again, when you have that momentum,
Dallas has a lot of hurdles.
You can play free. You can be like, man, we own these guys, okay? If it gets down early, not a problem. We know how to regroup. We know what the formula is to win this type of game. And not to mention, Green Bay, that was the worst thing for Dallas that could have happened. Green Bay coming in 9-8, they're riding high in momentum.
Yeah.
Like, what do we have to lose? Dallas? Okay, we know this. Like, it's just the worst thing for Dallas to try to get back on track. That's what Green Bay is going to face this year with Chicago. This Chicago team's be like, man, we got nothing else to lose. We have nothing else to lose. We've lost 10 in a row. We can't. Something like, they're going to throw everything they can at that game. For sure. They're going to save stuff for that game. And I know it's late in the year. You have to withstand that storm early in that game and be like, that's fine. You want to throw weird stuff at us? Sure. That's cool. When the bread and butter gets going, we're going to take you down. Like they have to keep that mental edge. It's not going to be easy. And Green Bay has to flip that script as well in the playoffs against San Francisco. They got to find a way to do that.
GR7070, I need to clear something up here. So in the comments, he says that I'm wearing a maize and blue t-shirt.
There you go.
No, look. It's Packers.
It actually does. It does look a little maize on the camera. That's interesting.
It says Green Bay Packers.
It does say Green Bay.
Green Bay proud. It says Green Bay proud.
It does say that.
It's not maize. Shut up, Joe. It's not maize. It's green.
He says maybe it's for Deadpool Wolverine.
I just have weird lighting in this room right now.
Deadpool Wolverine is just actually Ohio State, Michigan in a movie, by the way, if anybody was curious about that.
Here, let me see.
So
does it look a little bit less green now? Or less
it blue? It does when you stand up. It doesn't as much when you sit down.
Joey, shut up. It's not maize. It's green.
Oh, man.
It's green and yellow.
Jeez. The only way it could be only way it could be blue, right? Is if it was a throwback shirt for the Packers, right?
See?
Maze.
The magic trick light bulb is proving that it's green.
I
Pack
think
Daddy
so.
says, "What the hell is maize?"
Corn.
Maize is a made-up color
Corn.
that Michigan claims is
Sick.
their yellow.
It's
It's supposed to be
corn
yellow
maize.
and blue because that's what a normal person would say.
Yeah. Do we scarlet and gray though?
Okay, I defer to the chat. Is scarlet a color you've heard of? Is that a color people ever use? Yes.
Sometimes.
Do you talk about maize anytime other than when you are recounting Puritan Thanksgiving Pilgrim history?
Yeah,
No.
we're just trying. Maize is not a vegetable. Vegetables are not a thing. They're not real. By the way, don't be putting maize as a vegetable in the comments. That's not correct.
What's a girl?
So,
Pack Daddy says he's making tortillas. We made burritos tonight. We had a huge pot of rice and a pot of beans. I grilled up a bunch of peppers because I love peppers on my burritos. We had
peppers are great on burritos.
My wife made some spicy chicken. Had some other proteins. Had a huge spread of burritos. It was amazing. I'm stuffed to the gills.
That sounds really good. Now I'm hungry.
Oh, he says that's what you use maize for.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Well, I'm going to take inspiration from that. That's what Ohio State needs to do to Michigan this year. Make them into tortillas.
There you go.
Okay. I have to share 2 things that I saw today that are amazing. Saw them right before we hopped on the live stream. One is share my screen here. One is this the right one? Okay. This guy said so the tweet he's replying to says the NBA says we've received WBD's proposal and are in the process of reviewing it. And somebody commented and said, as the late great Andrew Brandt used to say, there will be lawyers.
Used to say.
To which Andrew Brandt replied and said, late, ? And I just cracked up laughing. I'm like, all right, I hope that whoever this person is, that they're a derailed fan.
That would be great.
And that they're just memeing on the ed policy thing. So the other one that I saw,
I love the GIF underneath that too. Very good.
My death was greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
That's actually, for those who don't know, that's a Mark Twain quote. Mark Twain was rumored to have passed away, and he wrote to a friend, "My death was greatly exaggerated," or the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. All right, so here's
funny.
the other one.
All right, what
David
else do we see
Bakhtiari.
today?
This is kind of juicy. I wouldn't say it's like funny, but it's juicy. He said, not going to lie, I would love to know what the first offer was for J Love and Kenny Clark from the Packers. Which, I mean, kind of hints that he thinks that they lowballed him. I don't super care, but it's interesting.
Okay, the Cheesehead TV comment is very good.
Says under 30 years old gets the premium starter rates. Over 30 years old starts off with a handshake from Russ Ball and a bag of chips.
That's funny.
As it should.
That's funny.
I bet David didn't respond to this.
No shot.
How old is David? Is he 29 or is he 30?
No.
Is he over 30?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's 30. He's almost 33.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, he didn't.
That's great.
I'm guessing he didn't like that one.
Did he bookmark it though?
Well, there's one bookmark on it. It probably is David.
Makes you think.
He probably unfollowed Cheesehead TV. Gosh dang it, Tyler Herrick. You just got unfollowed by Bakhtiari over that.
Oh, that's so worth it though. That's so funny. I love that.
It's so true, and it's also like exactly what I want. Like, I'm sorry. This is what I want to do. I want to pay top dollar to all like I want Christian Watson to earn highest paid wide receiver in the NFL money. That's what I want. Want him to earn that. And
I want a mansion.
What's that?
And I want a mansion.
Okay, maybe Jaden Reed. All right, Dontavian Wicks. Ooh, this would be a good one.
I shouldn't have said that.
We keep doing
People
this.
are gonna have receipts for this.
Like, hey, who's gonna be wide receiver 1 this year? Thing. Okay, screw
Wicks.
that. Who gets the biggest second contract out of this wide receiver group? That's gonna be the interesting one. More importantly, who gets the biggest second contract from the Packers? Because if the Packers let you walk, and then the Jets or the Chiefs give you $1 bajillion, or who just paid? Oh, Runyon got like $30 million from the Giants.
Yeah, from the Giants.
If one of the dumb teams gives you $1 bajillion, I don't super care as much.
Yeah.
What's your prediction? Which Packers wide receiver gets the biggest second contract from the Packers?
Well, I mean, I guess the way that I've been talking this offseason, I would be remiss not to continue by saying Dontavian Wicks. So I will stick with that. My thing is if the Watson injury is fixed, big and fast, will command a lot of money on a second contract. But I mean, if the injury still persists, it's just kind of going to be like, okay, you see the ceiling, but how many times are you going to get it every year? Right. So like the availability thing comes into play. I mean, if Jaden Reed goes full, Greg Jennings, Randall Cobb combination, then I think you could get an argument for it. I think the question is how many.
Tyler Dershel in the chat thinks that the highest paid wide receiver is going to be Zach Tom. So there's that. Bet you didn't have that on your bingo card, Jake.
I did not. But
Tyler Dershel, I feel like the Dobbs connection for Love might play a role in a second contract. Well, I mean, I think that would just be like whether he gets a second contract, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, for me, Dobbs has to, I guess, like, show me he's got another level that he can keep turned on for a season.
It was a sweet game he had against Dallas, but
yeah,
when you look back at it, yeah, I agree. It was very much like
your turn.
Yeah, it was very much like okay, Dobbs, we know you can kind of run these dig routes. We know that you have good feel for spacing on the dig routes. I feel like 3 of the 4 pretty much do at this point, and it's just kind of like we're going to stretch these guys as far as possible because we're going to put these linebackers in an impossible situation of you're going to have to cover 20 yards down the field, but you're also going to have to pay attention to the fact that we can run the football. So they either have to go big or go small, and they kind of stayed hybrid both the time. So they were just shredding them left and right. Romeo Dobbs running, digs to the deep area of the field behind, the go routes, the guys that are scary, I think should tell you a little bit. And of course, that big one, right? That's the big one that they're like, oh my gosh, he juked the defender out of. No, that was just the idea was you're selling that big crossing route, right? They have called that route on that combination before with that big crosser. Dallas says they must have seen something, and they were correct on seeing it, where they're like, Dallas is playing over-aggressive. They think they know that they're getting that crosser, so let's just throw in the little kind of, retread the route a little bit back to the other side of the field. Throw that in there because they're going to overcommit. So I do feel like that was very much, again, they called his number. He answered the call. That's awesome. But it did kind of feel like, LaFleur just got in the bag and pretty much was like, oh, yeah, everything's kind of working here. So this feels pretty good. But, again, he's still got reliability to him. And there are things he took a step forward with last year, whereas as a rookie, there were a lot of routes where it felt like he is uncomfortable with how many steps he needs to take. When am I starting my break? All of this stuff. So, like, the finer points were still a work in progress. I feel like he took steps. I feel like he's not, like, I don't think the step was massive, but it's in the right direction. I still feel like he's the fourth guy to me. Yet, that's just where I'm at.
So this is kind of strange timing that GR7070 just commented this, because I want to quiz you on some wide receiver stats for the Packers for 2023.
Okay.
He says the minute you look beyond total yards and total receptions, Dobbs becomes very underwhelming compared to the other four wide receivers. I mean, he certainly has like the fewest flashy plays out of the group. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Jake, I want to quiz you on.
You got it.
On some of these receiving stats here.
Okay.
Which wide receiver led the Packers in receiving yards last year?
My guess would be Dobbs, but I feel like because you're asking that right now, it can't be Dobbs. They didn't.
It is Dobbs.
It is?
Yeah, he had.
It's not Reed?
He had 80 more yards than Reed.
Oh, okay.
So Dobbs was at 908. Reed was at 828.
Okay. Is
which receiver?
That must be. That's regular plus postseason, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think.
Yeah, because he got 600 yards in the Dallas game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think Reed might have had more than him because in the regular season only.
So
because
if you look
Watson
regular
didn't have as much,
only,
Wicks didn't have as much.
We can do that if you want.
I just didn't know. That makes sense though.
Okay.
I don't know why we talked about the game against Dallas and I didn't think about it. But that was
regular season only is Jaden Reed.
Okay.
So he actually had 120 yards on Dobbs, and then Dobbs
you
caught
took it
up
all
to
back.
him. Dobbs made a 200-yard comeback.
Yeah, that's wild.
So that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I guess Reed only had this like?
I feel like he didn't do
yards?
a lot in the postseason. Yeah,
Reed only had 35 yards in the postseason, so that'll hurt you.
Yeah.
Okay. So regular and
post very much the James Jones thing going on, which I love that.
Who, Dobbs?
Yeah, I just feel like there's like this level of like gravity to him in some big spots that loves to go his way.
Yards per route run. Who had the highest yards per route run?
Well, how many snaps are we counting? Because doesn't Melton technically have that if there's not a minimum snap count?
Well, it is Melton.
Okay.
And his total offensive snaps, for some reason, does not want to give it to me. Total offensive snaps, 178 snaps. So it is a small sample size.
Yeah.
So after Melton, who has the highest yards per route run?
Who has the highest yards per route run? Based on number of games played, I feel like
so Melton is at 2.68. There were
like I'm
7
correct on this.
There were a total of 7 receivers who played in the regular or postseason for the Packers last year.
Okay.
5 of those 7 had somewhere between 1 and 2. Bo Melton was the only guy over 2, and Samori Toure was the only guy under 1.
Oh, man.
The only reason I said
I feel like I'm gonna be incorrect.
Only reason I said any of that was just to trash on Samori Toure. But so Wicks and Reed are nearly a dead tie. 1.95 for Reed, 1.94 for Wicks.
Okay.
So of the receivers who got any consistent playing time, Christian Watson had the lowest yards per route run, but the highest average depth of target.
Yeah, and that's,
not that surprising.
Yeah, it's really not. Just again, he has to. It's very difficult for big, fast guys to be able to run the full route tree, to be able to gear down well enough when you have consistently become a long striding deep threat. It is not an easy thing to do, especially at that size. So that makes some of this a little more difficult on him.
He also, unfortunately, had the lowest completion percentage, except for Toure, who just doesn't count because he's not a real football player.
Yeah.
Watson is the only sub 60%, and he's at 53.6. So he's significantly lower than anybody else.
Yeah. Again, with that average depth of targets going out there, right? I mean, the room for error is getting, a little bit smaller. So it's a tough position to be in as that guy on the team.
Who had the most drops? I will just note before you guess.
Yeah.
You're going to have more opportunities for drops when you have the ball in your hands more often. Although Samori Toure basically never had the ball and still managed to drop.
Okay. Had the most drops. I mean, probably based on targets, it's got to be Dobbs or Reed, but I feel like it wasn't Reed. I feel like it's Dobbs or Wicks.
So Dobbs led the team with 4. Reed was second with 3.
Oh, Reed was second. Okay.
But those two guys actually just about tied in total targets and receptions. 69 receptions for Dobbs, 68 for Reed, 105 targets for Dobbs, 97 for Reed.
Okay.
Everybody else was 61 or fewer targets.
Yeah.
So there's just no question when you look at the numbers that the bulk of the offense went through, or at least yardage, went through Dobbs and Reed. Now, when Watson's in the field, he's still playing a valuable role in getting those guys freed up.
Yeah.
But bringing it back to our point from the beginning, we need more out of most of these guys, but certainly if Watson can put it together and stay consistent, he's the guy who should have the highest potential for that big second contract.
For sure. I think the way that the heater that he got on with Rodgers in 22 showed you how it can be. And I think when I think Love was definitely struggling with timing on the deep ball a little bit more with Watson. And I think that definitely bled into late in the year as well. Opening play against Detroit, right? Pretty decent underthrow there. Obviously, the touchdown was more of an intermediate level throw. So, you look at that, I think, a little bit differently. But it did seem like he was on, a better page with Reed, who has, enough speed in his own right. I think that's not talked about as much anymore. Maybe because of Melton's resurgence, or Melton kind of inserting himself into the conversation. But it seemed like Love was on a pretty good page with Reed on some of the deep balls. I think, one in the Saints game early, obviously the chemistry to go for on in the Pittsburgh game, like it seems to be there. And so to me, it's I think it's very clearly that, Wicks and Reed are the best two receivers currently on this team. I know that hasn't reflected it in the stats to this point. You can call me a Dobbs hater if you want to. That's fine. Well, I live with that, but I just, to me, when you see that, like, once they get Wicks involved, it's just like he's got it. And Reed's ability to handle a lot of different duties in that offense is just very apparent, and they both look so smooth out there. If you had never watched football before, like genuinely, if you had never watched football before and you're listening to these guys being talked about a little bit, right? All four of these guys, you'd think, oh wow, it must be nice that Jordan Love has had Reed and Wicks in the building a little bit longer, right? You can tell that these guys have refined their games. And it's like, you can tell there's a lot of potential with Watson and Dobbs, as younger players than the other two. It feels like Reed and Wicks were drafted first, if you didn't know any better, in my opinion. So it's just a very interesting thing that it feels like, Goody kind of was like, all right, let me reach back here and swing real hard for these two guys. And then the next year he's like, all right, how about a couple of nice little doubles in the gap and just like, let's get these two. So it's just
looking at
it's how I feel right now. And like, again, it would be great to have these four somehow stay together through second contracts, but like it's just probably not going to be the case. So
looking at how their 2023 seasons went, so the only receiver who had a decent game against San Francisco was Dobbs. All the other receivers crapped the bed against San Francisco. Several of them also crapped the bed against Dallas, though, which is kind of interesting. So, Watson had a really long, slow start to the year, caught fire weeks 12 and 13 against Detroit and Kansas City, gets hurt, misses a bunch of time, finally comes back for the first time in the playoffs. Isn't that good? Okay.
Well, obviously, a big part of the Watson thing against Dallas was get down the field because we're going to open up these giant windows, which, again, that's not necessarily defending him, but so that's part of his job, yes. But of course, as well, you're not getting these dig routes, these comeback routes. We're not giving you these. So that's, you can kind of play both sides to it in that regard. But
But so, I mean, he's still hurt. He only plays 8 snaps against Dallas.
Yep.
When he's out there, he's kind of meh. Plays a significantly larger number of snaps against San Francisco the next week. Still kind of just meh. I'm like, he's back fresh from injury. Haven't seen him all year.
Yeah.
Would I have liked to see better? Absolutely. Did I expect to see better? No, you don't typically see better when a guy first comes back from injury right away. Looking at Reed has a little bit of a slow start to the year, except for just a crazy hot game against Atlanta. But the rest of the beginning of the year, he kind of gets good when the team starts getting good. It's the Pittsburgh game. That's his first real good game of the year. And then he's kind of just ascending for the whole rest of the regular season. Playoffs show up, and he just lays an egg. 11 snaps against Dallas, 3 targets, 0 receptions. He's got a 53 PFF grade. Just not that good. Against San Francisco, gets to play a lot more snaps. Again, just doesn't really do much. And you can see kind of the exact opposite when you look at Dobbs from the Jaden Reed season. It's really weird. Dobbs starts the season off pretty strong, and then right about the Pittsburgh game, he just starts to kind of taper off a bit, and he's getting a little bit lower and lower grades. The receptions are going down. Kind of peters off the last few weeks of the year. Minnesota, Chicago. Okay, this is when Jaden Reed's just going nuts. Dobbs just isn't really doing much. Then goes bananas for how many yards was this? Where's my yards? 151 yards, 6 receptions, 1 touchdown against Dallas. Just absolutely out of his mind insane. And again, still plays really well against San Francisco. Like basically all the weeks where Reed did well, you look at Dobbs and there's a corresponding dip.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. And then Wicks, this is the guy who's the most fun for me to talk about. First of all, he kind of only has 3 bad games the entire year. So Chicago week 1, he just doesn't really do anything. He gets some playing time. He plays 19 snaps.
I wonder if those snaps were when, there was the in the bag portion of the afternoon.
Could
perhaps.
be. We'll have to go back and rewatch that one and see.
Yep.
The Detroit game, week 4, nobody was good. So, all right, that makes sense that he wasn't good. And then the San Francisco game, that was the other game where he sucked. The
That's going to
rest
be
of the
interesting
year,
to watch back. The San
he's
Francisco
kind of
game.
just rock solid, and ascending. Like he's good at the beginning of the year,
right,
and just gets better throughout the whole year. Do you recall what his best game of the year was?
His best game?
I mean, there's a couple ways you could slice it. So you could look at he had a ton of yards against the Chargers and the Buccaneers. Compared to the rest of the season and compared to the other receivers on the team. He was almost at 100 yards for both those games. His highest grade came against the Chiefs, 85.3.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a pretty hot streak for him from basically Denver in week 7 through the Dallas game. Just kind of on a hot tear.
Yeah.
Consistently every week. You maybe could cut that Denver game because the Minnesota game in between that and the Rams was not that good. So if you really wanted to be a purist and just say Rams through Dallas.
Because he had the fumble in the Ram game. Yeah. He had that fumble where he tried to stretch the ball out over the first down marker.
Well,
So
PFF graded his Minnesota game the week before as not that good, and they actually liked his Rams game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Rams game was very good. I just remember that very vividly from the Rams game, where it was kind of like, hey, shake it off, no problem, right? Let's just get ourselves back on track. So, just the way you described Dobbs, my mind cannot go anywhere else but James Jones. It cannot go anywhere else. Just like, man, he's the clear 4, but let me tell you, there's going to be a game or two where he's just going to be like, I'm him, throw me the ball. And that's what James Jones, that's just kind of what James Jones's career was. It's just kind of like, there's some games I'm just not going to be here, but I got you for 3 touchdowns against Chicago, right? Oh, Jordy goes down, you need me? I'll help you get just an insane start to the year. Right? Playoff stretch 2010. Give me the ball against the Falcons. Okay? Give me the ball in a big spot. I will take care of it. So, yeah, it feels like that's who Dobbs, the best comp for him was if you were just to strictly say a Green Bay receiver. Like that just feels like who he is.
Joe is remembering Love's throw to Dobbs versus the Chiefs was when I knew without a shadow of a doubt Love was our guy. And that Chiefs game was so much fun. So he's got like the insane throw to Dobbs, and then wasn't the very next play
I think it was
that back of the end zone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Watson.
It was just kind of like, yes, 2 improbable throws in a row. I got you.
And you're sitting there and you're like, okay,
come on, man.
This is a national game. Everybody's watching this, and they're all seeing in real time the reincarnation of Favre and Rodgers. Like you don't see this from just run of the mill quarterbacks. They don't have games like this. You look at
you don't
friggin' Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito or any of these bozos who go off for a game. Okay, their crazy good game is not like this. Their crazy good game is you watch a play and you're like, oh, come on, not.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Yeah.
That was crazy. Drew says James Jones was an outlet when nobody was open. He'd make contested catches.
He definitely would. And he'd also just make some absolute boneheaded drops that would drive you up a wall. So that's, good to see you, Mark. But like, that's who I see with Dobbs right now.
So the Packers did not make any additions to wide receiver this year in free agency or the draft. We have a couple of, young kick the tire guys, UDFAs, street free agents who are, were cut by other teams who signed them as UDFAs. Maybe out of every 20 of those, you find a guy who sticks around for a couple of years, like Alan Lazard, or not usually not even to Alan Lazard's level at all.
Yeah.
but like maybe every 20 you find a Malik Heath. All right.
Yeah.
Between all those guys who we have on the team, there's like 5 of them right now, plus Malik Heath, plus Bo Melton. Give me your prediction, percentage chance that we get one guy out of that whole mix who sticks and plays a significant role in our offense this year. Okay. And I'm defining significant as like at least what Bo Melton did in 2023.
Okay.
So you got to choose from. You have the combined pool of Bo Melton and Malik Heath and all the 2024 undrafted rookies.
Okay.
And whoever we just signed yesterday, the 2 guys we signed yesterday who I didn't look up.
Right. Okay.
Give me a percentage chance that one of those guys sticks around and has a role, and you know his name for good reasons. Prince Capsaicin says when you have Toure as a number 8 wide receiver, you are pretty set.
5%.
High praise for Toure from Prince Capsaicin.
5% outside of the Heath Melton duo. Maybe.
So
even
what's
less.
your percent of Heath plus Melton equaling one player who sticks around and gives you something?
That gives you something.
Okay, here's the bar. Here's the bar.
All right. What's the
next off season when we're sitting around talking about like who are we bringing back? You're saying, oh, well, we got to bring back Bo Melton.
I would give Bo Melton, I think, 65% chance we get into that range with him.
Really? All right.
Yeah, I'll give Malik Heath like 40. I think 40% chance.
I'm gonna go.
Reason being for Melton is really quick. Is if if the Packers are very set on what they want Jaden Reed to do, and like nothing's going to change in that regard, you have to have other speed besides Watson, whether or not whether you're banking on health or not. Bo Melton gives you that. Reed could give you that, but if you're going to stick with Reed and what he's doing right now, part of the motion game, a lot of work in the slot, like you have to have somebody else. So I think, Melton doing enough this year is going to be, I think, a thing where if Reed's role is staying the same, Melton's going to be a guy where they go, yeah, he's a walking big play, right? We're giving him big plays. He needs to be around. So I feel comfortable with the 65. I think with Malik Heath, it's like, okay, a couple things with him. Again, very minimal stuff. I'm still going through all these guys. A couple minimal things. Got to see better catch through contact strength when you're playing in games in the regular season.
For Heath?
Yes, for Heath. I think he showed it during the preseason, which is great. You dominate in the preseason. You show up there. That's good. You make the roster. It's a whole different game in the regular season. It's like, all right, we JV'd. We're at varsity now. We got to make some plays. So I think he has to work on that play strength a little bit more. I think he, struggled a little bit to kind of get out of, what could be kind of considered a starting block when you get to top of routes. That's got to be important for him that he needs to work on. He's got to catch through contact a little bit more. He's going to provide stuff as a blocker. We just got to see him embrace the big-bodied role of an Allen Lazard, right, where you have to win a lot of those situations. And that's why I'd put him at 40%. I think the lingering percentage that I think a lot of people are going to point out is definitely Dubose. Just haven't seen a lot. But I think that is and should be the most likely scenario of any of that pool of guys that we really haven't seen a whole lot of.
To me, DeBose I feel like the most likely outcome for him is he slots into that Toure role of he's here because he's a draft pick. He's never done anything. Probably still won't do anything this year. But because he was a draft pick, and they like talking to him, he'll still be here next year.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we're kind of, as you're saying, like we got to bring him back or anything like that. I don't think we're gonna get to that point. It just seems, it seems like it's unless there's desperation setting in, right, where injuries are piling up. It just doesn't feel like we're gonna get to a point where like, Julian Hicks, we need him next year, or Jalen Wayne, we need him next year, right? It just doesn't feel like we're going to get that.
And I would say at the conclusion of the 2023 season, we were in a spot where we said, hey, based on what we saw on the field from Bo Melton, we have to bring him back.
Yeah.
And based on what we saw from Malik Heath, we do want to bring him back, want to see him continue to ascend and contribute on special teams. Not positive we have to keep giving him a role on offense going forward, but like he did enough this year to earn bringing him back and letting him still keep competing in practice and on special teams. Okay. And then like DeBose and Toure, never see anything from either one of them. Whatever.
Right.
You got a pile of undrafted guys. You know, I mean, yeah, it's easy to get excited about Julian Hicks based on watching some film on him. I like him a lot, but
for sure,
he's got to earn it. And I'm going to give like the whole pool of all those guys, Grant DeBose, Toure, Hicks, all the guys whose names you can't be expected to remember, like Dimitri Stanley and Rory Starkey and all these guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to say everybody excluding Bo Melton. So Malik Heath is in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 15% chance that any one of those guys from the field does something on the field that makes you and me at the end of the season want to bring them back for next year.
Yeah.
Bo Melton, I'm going to say 40% chance for him as an individual. And again, I've always been a huge Bo Melton fan. Really love his skill set, love his speed, love the fact that he's the other guy on the roster who's fast. But just the odds are stacked against him that he's going to replicate this coming year what we saw in such a small sample size last year. Would love to see it. I'm a believer in it, but also I'm a believer in math, and I gotta see it to believe it. So I'm going to give him 40% chance.
For sure.
I can't go over 50%. We got 2 comments here to react to. So one, Tyler Dershel wants to know about the kickoff changes. Are they going to affect how many wide receivers they keep this year? Melton would be a fun player for that. My answer, and Jake, I'll let you weigh in on this too. My answer for all the kickoff stuff, new kickoff stuff, is I don't know, and I don't think the teams know. I think we're going to have to just play a few games, play maybe a season or 2 seasons with this to really know how it's going to impact anything. And I think the higher level of play that we got from 5 wide receivers for the Packers last year, certainly 4 at a minimum, to me makes it more likely that the Packers keep fewer wide receivers as opposed to more. If I had to put money on it right now today, the number of wide receivers I would expect to be on the first 53 is 5.
Okay.
That's the number I would take today. Got to see what they do in training camp, in the preseason. See if somebody just like earns a role that, you know, you have to keep him, like Bo Melton did last year. But that's the number I give him today. I don't think you're going to see a Toure or a DeBose or even a Malik Heath on the 53. That's my guess. I think Bo Melton is the lowest guy you have on the initial 53, based on just where we stand July 22nd.
Yeah, which again, to add on to that a little bit, like I think there's pretty much everybody out there's like, yeah, we better keep 3 quarterbacks. Yeah, we're keeping 3 QBs, right? Got to take that from somewhere, right? It's not going to be you're not magically getting a 54th spot here. You have to take it from somebody.
I have another
right.
I have another spot on the roster.
Okay.
You can keep 2 QBs as long as they are Jordan Love and Michael Pratt.
That's probably true.
I like Sean Clifford. I think he will be just fine and comfortable on the practice squad. Nobody's going to take him. So put him on the practice squad. We got to keep Michael Pratt because I think he's more talented. But there's another spot on the roster where I think we need to keep additional guys, and that's running back, because I think Emmanuel Wilson ended the season strong. He started it strong. He ended it strong. Like, if he comes in this summer and is showing the coaches the progression that they want to see from him, In particular, if he's blocking, pass blocking the way they need him to, and if he can play special teams and ball security, and then we'll add a new one on there. Like those are the first three that you always know is going to be there. New one, just based on what LaFleur specifically talked about last year, just his physical, what's the word I'm looking for? Like ability to play a full game and a full season.
The endurance, the durability. Yeah.
Durability. Thank you. So LaFleur was talking about like, we like him. Think we're probably going to stash him on the practice squad for now because I see that his conditioning isn't where it needs to be. Like he's pretty gassed after just a few plays. That's something he can work on. Yeah. We love him. Like that's what LaFleur was talking about.
Yeah.
So we'll throw that on the pile of things Emmanuel Wilson has to do. But if he does all those, okay, you're not getting rid of what's the name of the rookie we drafted from USC?
Marshawn Lloyd.
Not getting rid of Josh Jacobs. Not getting rid of A.J. Dillon on that contract unless he just craps the bed in the preseason, which I don't think we're expecting him to do, but hey, anything can happen. But if Emmanuel Wilson is hitting those markers that they want, how do you not keep 4 running backs? You got 4 that I think we really like. And look at the Packers have, I think, twice now in the last 4 years kept only 2 running backs, which is crazy. But look at how often we're missing one of our running backs. And you're just beating your head on a wall going, duh, you didn't think that keeping just 2 running backs was going to be a problem? Yeah. I mean, in college, you're going through 4 running backs in a game a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you certainly need 4 to get through a season.
For sure.
In the NFL, you're playing more games, and somehow the Packers are saying, 2's fine. No, it's not. Aaron Jones misses half the season.
Yeah.
A.J. Dillon breaks his finger or whatever, and, thanks for carrying the ball while your hand's broken, dude, but, as soon as we get Aaron Jones back, we can't ask you to keep doing that.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have more than 2 running backs. I just don't know how you move on from any one of these 4 if Emmanuel Wilson is doing what you need him to do in ball security, pass blocking, and if his conditioning and under grasp of the offense is where we think it's at. He was playing great at the end of the year last year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think and again, to your point, college teams are using a lot of quarterbacks. Teams would love to find an advantage, right? If you think, let's try to keep Emmanuel Wilson on the practice squad if he shows something. No. Teams are going to see that and immediately be like, hey, running back for cheap that we can put on the active roster to keep a stable of backs under X amount of dollars this season, we're going to take that all day.
I think if you're playing roster chess, yes, you could get Emmanuel Wilson on the practice squad. But you could also get Malik Heath on the practice squad.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just they're thinner at running back because again, they're. What if Josh Jacobs is 2023 Josh Jacobs? What if Marshawn Lloyd continues to fumble at a high rate? Now what are we sitting here doing? We've got a lot of options, right? I think there's a level of uncertainty here at the running back position. There's no doubt. So I'm in agreement.
I think I think it's just you feel good about the upside. You feel good about the upside, but the downside is equally as likely as the upside.
Yeah,
for sure. And which is why it's nice that we have 4 guys right now who you currently feel optimistic about.
Yes.
Okay, maybe 3 because I don't know how many Packer fans you would poll who would besides me who would say that they feel optimistic about what A.J. Dillon can do this season.
I'm just going to pretend that Jaden Reed is also a running back. And let's put him in that camp as well.
Well, it's just too bad we can't move Alex
versatile
McGee to running back.
Yeah, there's the solution. Yeah.
We should have moved him to running back,
Yeah, it's true. Would love to have Edgerrin Cooper's speed at running back. So
that would be an interesting one. Except we're pretty thin at linebacker.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's actually several positions on the roster where we're crazy deep, and as many positions where we're crazy thin, and you just
Looking
hope
for
that the
something.
guys who are there are good and healthy, because
Yeah.
then you're fine. You can win a Super Bowl, but you
Mhm.
could be in trouble real quick. Linebacker, I think running back,
Yeah.
certainly guard, certainly guard.
Yes, 100%. That interior could be in a world of hurt very quickly.
Prince Capsaicin wants to know if the Packers keep looking for a smaller, quicker change of pace running back. Seems like we have all four in the same mold. I think that all four being the same mold is Goody's plan. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, I just would like to point out, if you go back to previous derails, there was somebody who goes, what if Goody's just like, hey, we're going all bigs? Like, oops, all bigs. We're taking all the bigs at running back. Seems like he's going in that direction. I don't think we're going to see that. Yeah, I feel like he's like, no, we need 210 on everybody, right? Like even 220. Like, it's just, yeah, 220. So on all four of them that we, presumably like are excited about, will keep, right? So I think the change of pace is legitimately Jaden Reed. As crazy as that sounds. But the crazy thing about the change of pace, Marshawn Lloyd runs with the speed and burst of a change of pace guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference right there. Like, Goody's like, I see the best of both worlds here. He doesn't even have to be a change of pace, but he's got the burst of like a 190-pound back in a bruiser's body. Like, that's what he sees. And that's why I'm sure, again, he was probably, looking at someone like Trey Benson as well in the draft. Big dude with a ton of burst. Let's get that man in here. Like, you need it.
Remember that episode of Derailed where we were going through all the running backs during the draft, and we kept, resorting the list like 50 different ways, and every time, like, the number 1, 2, or 3 back every time in all the categories we cared about was Marshawn Lloyd, and every time we were like, and there's Lloyd again, but not him. Move on. And then finally, one of us said, I don't remember who it was. One of us was like, "Why do we keep writing off Marshawn Lloyd?" And we all thought about it. And we're like, "Well, it's because he's old, but
like,
we
they just
don't want
drafted Wyatt.
We don't want to give a running back a third contract anyways. So why do we care?"
Yeah, exactly. it's exactly it. It's like a position where it's like, oh, a QB's 24. What if he's elite? Who cares? You have him for 14 years. Why do you care if he's 24? Yeah, it's the same with running back. It's like, if he's 23, he's going to be 24. Oh well, you need him for the first contract. That's it. Like, if Marshawn Lloyd is very, very good and he cleans up the fumbling, like, we're cooking on a contract from a third-round pick.
Second contract. The Packers give out second contracts to running backs way more frequently than I would like to.
Yeah,
I certainly don't want to give them a third contract.
Right.
So who cares if they're old? What matters is the wear and tear that's on their body.
Yeah.
All right. Are they going to actually still be able to play at the high level for the entire 1 or 2 contracts you do have them at?
Yeah.
But I don't want to be paying a 29-year-old running back, regardless of how old he was when we drafted him. I don't care if he was 19 when we drafted him.
Yeah. It's just, there it is. It's a perfect way to end it.
Well, we are significantly over time. But I do want to thank everybody who is hanging out in the chat with us. Did have a lot of fun with you. Jake, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being my Jake and my Ryan this week. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
we did a 2-fer and it felt like a 3-fer.
Yeah. Wait till Brian gets back. It's going to feel like, it's going to feel like there are 4 people, 5 people talking, because football's back.
The pack is back, baby.
We're here. Yeah, Jaden Reed or Jair. The pack is back. So yeah, get ready. Get ready.
Well, it's happened again. You've wasted another perfectly good hour listening to us here on Packernet Derailed. Tune in next week to hear us celebrate Jordan Love's new contract.
For sure.
And until next time, in the words of the late, great Mr. Ed Policy, go Pack, go.